What Happened to Relisha Rudd by Gwendolyn Jackson, a Uni 110 student. Who is Relisha Rudd? She is an eight-year-old girl who attended Payne Elementary School, and she is the eldest sibling of four and the only female in her family of three boys. So she's makes the fourth, but she's the oldest sibling. When she had moved to a new school, Payne Elementary School. She also lived at DC General Family Shelter for about 18 months before she went missing. What happened to Relisha Rudd? So she was last seen at the Holiday Inn with Tatum on surveillance camera on the 1st of March 2024. Then she was reported missing on the 19th of March 2024. Until still to this day, she has never been found alive and a body has never been found. So the big question is, why was she in the hotel room with Khalil Tatum? So the major factors in this case who were all involved in Relisha Rudd going missing is Payne Elementary School, Khalil Tatum, Shamika, and DC General Family Shelter. So Khalil Tatum, who was he? He was a janitor at DC General Family Shelter, and he was only interested in Shamika's daughter, Relisha Rudd, instead of her brothers, meaning he would only buy her gifts. He would only take her to the park, places to eat. He would only have her stay over his house for not one night, but multiple nights, the weekends before school, hotel rooms. Which brings up an interesting theory is why is Khalil Tatum, someone who is not a family member, bringing home young children into his home? There's many possible theories that he was just being a good citizen, trying to help a family out, and there's other theories where he was a pedophile preying on Relisha Rudd. So he was last seen at the hotel with Relisha Rudd on surveillance camera at the Holiday Inn walking into the room. But an interesting thing is he was also found buying a shovel and garbage bags at Home Depot a couple days before Relisha Rudd was reported missing on the 19th of March, 2014. So once she was reported missing, they went to go find Tatum. Upon his entering his home, they found his wife shot and killed on the 19th of March, 2014, the same day Relisha Rudd went missing. What is also interesting is that he had filed for divorce a couple days before he killed his wife. And after the police had finally gotten a warrant for his arrest for the death of his wife, the 1st of April 2014, he was reported killed by gunshot, self-inflicted wound to the head and was found in a shed. So there's another theory on him that it could be a murder suicide. This could be guilt for what he did to Relisha Rudd. But there's a bunch of theories that are swarming around Khalil Tatum, but we'll never know the answer because he is dead. Shamika Rudd is the mother of Relisha Rudd. And there is some concerning details leading up to Relisha Rudd going missing. Shamika Rudd had many CPS cases open and closed on not only Relisha Rudd, but the other children that reside with her. And it's very, some say it could be negligence, or this could be possibly sex trafficking of her daughter, because she was allowing an 8-year old to stay overnight, go to places with an adult man who was 50, around the age of 50 at the time. And she was basically giving her child away to him for nights and days on end. So some say it's negligence on her part, that she didn't know this was going to happen. She thought he was a family friend. And then other people are saying this is a case of sex trafficking. And ultimately, Shamika never reported her daughter missing, even after 18 days of the child not being in her custody. She never reported her missing. But what was really sad about this is the school gave her more days to come up with an excuse on why she is not in school, because unexcused absences are considered reportable offenses after 10 days. So she told the school that Tatum was a doctor, and Dr. Tatum is basically saying that Relisha needs to stay home because she is sick. But Dr. Tatum was not an actual doctor. Dr. Tatum was the janitor of DC General Family Shelter. So she lied to the school. But why did she lie to the school? This is a very interesting theory. Is it to sweep this under the rug that she is allowing her daughter to stay with this janitor that she has no relation to? But ultimately, because of this case of Relisha Rudd going missing, she lost custody of all four of her children. So DC General Family Shelter was originally a hospital, but it then got turned into a family shelter that housed about 1,000 people, making up of 250 families. But even though it was the largest family shelter around, it had very bad reports of drug deals happening, bed bugs, spoiled food, sexual assault. The shelter had accountability checks to make sure that everybody was present in the facility, was supposed to be there every single night. They called it bed checks. And 50% of the time, kids and adults were missing in the shelter and were not making the bed checks formations. And this was also the case with Shamika's family. The kids were not found. The kids were not held. The kids were not, sorry, the kids were not at, were not, there was no accountability of Shamika Rudd's kids most of the nights that they stayed at DC General Family Shelter. And DC General Family Shelter does an extensive background checks on employees who work there with children and families that are in a vulnerable position. And they did a background check on Khalil Tatum, and they saw in his background check that he had felony convictions for robbery and breaking and entering, and they still hired him to work for the most vulnerable population of homeless people, women and children, and people who are in a very vulnerable position because they're probably limited on money, they can't afford housing. This is a very improper thing to do, is to put people with convictions that are felony convictions, could be putting them in harm's way by hiring people with convictions as such. And DC General Family Shelter also had a strict no fraternization policy, but Khalil Tatum was breaking that policy, and employees knew about it, the shelter knew about it, that there was a relationship between Shamika's daughter and him. And the fraternization policy specifically says there's no outside contact with families outside of the shelter as it becomes an improper relationship. So, why didn't the shelter take accountability and either fire the employee or reported him to the authorities for an improper relationship? But eventually, DC General Family Shelter was officially shut down in 2018 because of how unsafe it was for families. Payne Hope Elementary School. So the role the school played in Relisha Rudd's case is that they knew the mother had open and closed CPS cases, and they did not do a good job of surveillancing this family close enough. There are reports of the child coming to school, dirty clothes, just hair messy, dirty, just appearance was not appropriate for school. She missed school frequently. And the school has a strict policy about unexcused absences. 10 days of school that has been missed unexcused has to be reported to the police and CPS within 2 days. Relisha Rudd missed 30 days of school that had went unreported. And the school had stated that they were trying to give Shamika's mother, no, sorry, they're trying to give Shamika a chance to explain why Relisha Rudd was missing so many days of school, because Shamika had said that her child was homesick, and then she would have a doctor's note from Dr. Tatum explain why she was missing so much school. But at the time, Payne Hope Elementary School did not know that Dr. Tatum was not actually a doctor, but was the janitor of DC General Family Shelter. So after Shamika gave the school a doctor's note, it raised suspicions to be a false note. So the social worker of Payne Hope Elementary School went down to DC General and asked to speak with Dr. Tatum. But Dr. Tatum did not work at DC General, and DC General had stated that they do not have a Dr. Tatum that works here, but they have a janitor Tatum. This had confused the social worker, as Dr. Tatum was supposed to be an actual doctor, not a janitor. So he finally reported this to the authorities, and Relisha Rudd officially became missing as of 19th March 2014, 18 days later since the last time she was spotted. But who is to blame for her death? Ultimately, I think it's Khalil Tatum and Shamika Rudd. DC General Homeless Shelter and Payne Hope Elementary School. It's supposed to say Payne Hope Elementary School. Freebie Hope Elementary School was the previous school she went to before she switched to Payne Elementary. But I think all four factors are to blame for her death. But if Shamika Rudd had actually been accountable for her child, maybe this cascade of events would have not happened. Maybe Khalil Tatum would not have had the opportunity to prey on Relisha Rudd. My theory is that Khalil Tatum was unhappy with his wife because maybe he was a pedophile, which then it was very opportune for him to work at a homeless shelter because there's vulnerable victims all throughout the facility. So it was very easy to prey upon a young girl. And I think he preyed upon Relisha Rudd. And maybe he was couldn't cope, he couldn't do this anymore. Because even though he applied for divorce with his wife, maybe things didn't go right, and he just killed his wife because he wanted to escape the marriage. But my theory is also, in my opinion, that Shamika Rudd was sex trafficking her child. Because how else would you explain her giving her child for days on end to this man? In interviews, Shamika Rudd said it was to let her escape the family shelter. But then why didn't she just take the daughter and go to places like the park? Why would she give her daughter to a man, a grown 50-year-old man, and allow Relisha to stay days on end this way? It's very strange. So I think ultimately Shamika Rudd should have gotten in trouble for this because this is such negligence on a parent. And maybe if there had been proper rules and regulations for the facilities that were supposed to be in place, if they had been put in place, maybe Relisha Rudd would still be alive today because maybe someone would have seen and heard her and wouldn't have allowed the events to happen that they did. And all things that I talked about today can be found in these references from these news articles. Thank you.